Batman has been running around the DC universe since 1939, and throughout that time, he's been in a ton of stories. Batman has literally appeared in thousands of comic books, numerous cartoons, several live-action film series, and much more. And in many cases, The Dark Knight takes part in a long-running story arc that might have him tracking down the Joker, or he could become involved in a widespread storyline that sees him interacting with other members of the Justice League. Now, those stories tend to get more attention than the Caped Crusaders one-shots, which is a shame because he's been around for as long as he has, and there have been hundreds of exceptional Batman one-shot storylines, and just about every one of them is worth your time. Still, not every story can stand the test of time or be considered one of his greatest. That said, these three are easily the best The Dark Knight has to offer. Number 3, Night of the Stalker, coming from Detective Comics number 439. Now, Night of the Stalker is a story that delves into what made Bruce Wayne become the Dark Knight, but it's not actually an origin story. It revolves around a crime that is so similar to the one that set him on his path that it has a profound impact on the Caped Crusader. The story begins with Batman prowling the rooftops of Gotham City, where Batman witnesses an event that strikes him to his very core. He sees a couple being gunned down in front of their child. As you might expect, this triggers the Bat, who then has a flashback of the tragic night that ended his parents' life but started him on a path of a new one. After he shakes off the memory, he descends upon the killers, capturing one of them right away. 3 of the other killers do get away, so Batman chases them out of the city. Once they realize they're being chased by Batman, they stop and they try to kill him. There's a bit of a kerfuffle and one of the bad guys goes over a cliff along with the Bat. Believing them dead, the remaining crooks flee to their hideout somewhere in the woods, and while that's happening, Batman manages to keep the other bad guy from falling to his death before resuming his pursuit of the other 2. When he finds the remaining villains, he beats one to a bloody pulp before confronting the last man inside the shack. Instead of finding what you might expect, like a truly evil man, he finds a kid barely out of his teens, and he's clearly remorseful over what he's done tonight. As the sirens approach, Bats decides to leave the young man to the law. Later, he returned to his penthouse in the Wayne Foundation to consider the night's events. This story was profound and almost visceral in how it struck at the core of what made Bruce Wayne into the man he ultimately became. 2. Mad Love from the Batman Adventures. While most Batman stories are about, Batman, the same cannot be said of Mad Love. It's more of a story about Harley Quinn told through the experiences centered around the Bat, and it's a fantastic read. Not only was it a phenomenal comic book that won the 1994 Will Eisner Comic Industry Award for Best Single Issue, but it also got translated beautifully into an episode of Batman the Animated Series. The story picks up shortly after the Joker and Harley Quinn fail to kill Commissioner Gordon. Dejected and defeated, they return to their hideout to go over the day's events. The Joker becomes enraged with Harley, blaming her for his inability to concoct a hilarious but gruesome death for Batman after he foiled his plan for the 1000th time. The two fight and Joker kicks Harley out of his hideout, utterly rejecting her in the process. Despondent, Harley comes to the conclusion that Batman is the source of all of her problems, and after thinking back on her origin, she concludes that as long as Batman lives, she'll never be able to settle down the Joker to raise a family. This leads to her plan to kill Batman, which she calls the Death of 1000 Smiles. After some work, she gets her very own piranha tank. She even lures the Dark Knight into her trap, dangling him over the aquatic menaces. Realizing he's beaten, Batman does the only thing he can think to save him. He goads Harley into calling the Joker. And when he arrives, the Clown Prince of Crime attacks Harley for trying to subvert his live stream to kill Batman. He then disciplines her, which is a fancy way of saying beating the snot out of her. Joker then frees Batman, promising his nemesis that a truly traditional death will find him in the next time they meet. Then, without a second thought, he changes his mind and shoots him on the spot. Batman manages to deflect the bullet into the piranha tank, shattering it, and as the hungry little chompers begin to overwhelm the Joker, Batman gets his utility belt back and frees himself before chasing the Joker onto an elevated train. They fight until Batman punches his foe off the train into a smokestack. The story concludes with Harley returning to Arkham, where she swears she will never again love her puddin'. This lasts as long as it takes her to get to her room, where she sees a large get well soon card from the Joker. This story was important for a variety of reasons, but it's best remembered for taking Harley Quinn from a beloved Joker sycophant and expanding her into a multifaceted character with serious psychological issues. She was no longer two-dimensional, and this story helped make her into someone people could understand, someone who was far less cartoonish, per se, than Batman's other rogues. 1. The Joker's Five-Way Revenge from Batman 251. There are a few classic Batman comics as well known and appreciated as Batman number 251. The comic's cover art by Neil Adams has been reproduced countless times, and it stands as one of the best Joker covers of all times. The Killing Joke is arguably better, but that's an argument for a different time. Interestingly, the story is less focused on the Joker's desire to kill Batman as it is about his getting revenge on the people who landed him in Arkham Asylum. It begins when the Clown Prince of Crime escapes from Arkham, and the first thing he does is set his sights on the 5 men who ratted him out to the cops. Knowing that Batman is the only one who can stop him, the Joker takes his time, carefully planning out how to kill the men on his list. Batman is only alerted after the first murder turned up a smiling corpse. Before long, Batman works out what the Joker is doing and reaches out to the members of his former gang. The next victim agrees to enter into police custody, but some carefully placed Joker venom gets him when he drinks some contaminated water. The third has a nice meeting with the Joker, thinking he's forgiven him for his betrayal. He even scores a Primo cigar from the Joker before he leaves, but as soon as he lights it, it explodes, killing him and destroying his home in the process. The next victim doesn't believe Batman's story and hits him over the head before running back to his hideout, and unfortunately for him, he's hanging from the rafters by the time Bats catches up to him. The Joker jumps down on his nemesis, catching him by surprise, but he doesn't kill him. He comments that was mere chance that caused his attack on Batman to succeed, and he had always envisioned his winning as a result of cunning at the end of a bitter struggle. Later, Batman finds the Joker in his hideout at the aquarium by the beach. Hoping to save the last man, he finds him hanging over a giant shark tank. The Joker offers to let the man go if Batman takes his place, and he agrees. Now, once he's handcuffed, the Joker pushes Batman and the last man into the tank. Without his trusty shark repellent, Batman has to think and move quickly, and he manages to subdue the shark with his handcuffs. He then breaks the tank and frees the man before capturing the Joker as he attempts to make his escape. Not only is the Joker's Five-Way Revenge considered to be one of Batman's greatest one-shot comics, but it's also one of the Joker's best stories. After all, the Joker can be written as a sort of silly character, and it takes a talented writer like Dennis O'Neil to truly capture what makes the Clown Prince of Crime tick.